record and then we'll get started. All right, I want to welcome everyone to Expert Interview Tuesday. And for the month of May, we are focusing on mindset. So today I have with me Brian Kropp, he's also known as Master Kropp. He is a 5th degree black belt in Taekwondo, but he is also an expert in the financial industry, especially life insurance. And so I have him here today to talk a little bit about mindset, but in this case, it's the word discipline. But for many of you, discipline may be one of those things that has kind of a negative connotation. And so today we're going to use discipline in the form of habit. And so I know that to get to the place of being a 5th degree black belt, it's taken a bit of discipline or a lot of habits of consistency in your work. And so Brian, again, I appreciate you being here with me today. And so I want to step back and talk a little bit about what it takes to get to the place of being a 5th degree black belt.
Yeah, so gosh, like an 18-year journey, right? So I started when I was 7. Famous story is my dad and stepmom asked, Brian, what do you want to do at 7 years old? What kind of extracurricular activities? Do you want to do baseball, soccer, the rigmarole? And I was a smaller kid, so all I could think of was putting on football pads and just getting creamed by my bigger, taller, stronger friends. So back when I was a kid, that was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Power Rangers had just come out. So in my brain, I was like, I want to do martial arts. And that kind of led us into martial arts. So I always like the idea that you can move out of the way, you can block, you cannot suffer the injury, and yet you can still have control of the situation. Definitely a little different of a tact than the football players, right, where you're always getting tackled or whatnot.
Right. And so, obviously it's not one of those things at 7 years old, you decided I want to learn martial arts and voila, you became a 5th degree black belt, right?
Right. It's definitely, going into your message earlier about discipline and habits. So I'm very fortunate. My instructor is now an 8th degree black belt in Taekwondo. And a lot of what he set up in his school was around disciplines, around habits, and around really just building that, to go to your point, the mindset about how do you create a champion in life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've taken that in my own school now, where it's how do we really build champions? Because a lot of kids, adults even, they don't have that structure in their life. They don't have someone pouring into them with that encouragement. And so because of that, they're kind of going through the day-to-day. And if you're not rowing somewhere, you're going to be swept away by the current, right? So that's really the biggest difference that my instructor's done in my life, has been those little things that he's done for the last 20 years I've known him, those little drips of water about, hey, are you on the right path?
Right. Yeah. And I know, you're sitting there in your Taekwondo school, got the stuff in the background, and those are all of the uniforms that anyone who says, I'm kind of interested and curious about this Taekwondo thing, they can get started for 2 weeks for just $20 and get a free uniform, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So, even if your viewers, your participants are nationwide, a lot of martial arts schools have kind of an intro offer like that. I've seen mine work really, really well because, hey, you get a uniform so you get to feel kind of cool. And then the 2 weeks really gets you enough time to, okay, is this something I really like? Because any instructor can make one class really fun, but it takes a talented instructor to make 4 or 5 classes really fun.
Right. And I think that that's a real key point is, someone might be looking at Taekwondo, but really anything in life is where you have opportunity to make sure that you connect well with that person that you're maybe going on a lifelong journey with. And I know that as I came in and started in your studio as well, one of the things that you pointed out is that the way to success is to make sure that you've at least got you're showing up regularly. It's a couple times a week at a minimum. I know you allow for as many times as anyone wants to come in, that the doors are open and that you're eligible for based on your belt. But it really got back to consistency. You got to be consistent a couple times a week. where over a 2-month period you do that, you learn all of the skills you need to be able to then advance to the next belt, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the big differentiators between myself and any other martial arts school in our area. And so what it goes down to, whether I'm speaking with a child and a parent or an adult that's coming in for themselves, is, hey, the expectation is that you're coming in twice a week to what we call core classes. So that would be like a Monday and a Wednesday or a Tuesday and a Thursday. But we have extra classes if you want to, you know, improve quicker. Maybe we were sick or had vacation. You know, life absolutely throws us curveballs sometimes positive curveballs, sometimes negative curveballs. But at the end of the day, it comes down to those habits. And so if your habit is, I'm going to go to and do Taekwondo, going to go do this twice a week, and I'm going to give my all for 45 minutes, and then I'm done, I can relax, I'm going to improve, right?
Right. And so stepping back, looking at Taekwondo as one medium, again, I know that you have several things that you've done and become very successful in life, but how have you seen Taekwondo benefiting you? And I know we talked a little bit about the mindset aspect, but there are other things that you've seen that in life, you know, that the fact that you had this habit, this discipline that you had developed over time that has given you other successes in life overall.
So I'll take this opportunity to kind of jump into the financial vein that you talked about earlier. So, gosh, about 6 years ago now, I got into the financial industry, specifically on the insurance side. So for life insurance, disability, and whatnot. And in the process of having conversations with my clients, what it really came down to was talking about their hopes and dreams and what they want to accomplish.
Right.
And what I found is in these conversations about really what do these lives that they want to build look like, it all came back to those really simple Taekwondo disciplines, those really simple, just how do you build your life? And so what I found was I'm using all the tools that I use to teach martial arts in the financial field. So it had a really nice blend. And, you know, at the end of the day, God kind of aligned some things to start the school itself. So now we have the school as well as, you know, a little bit of the financial insurance world, because of course that's still important. But that's kind of a little bit of how I've seen it has been. It's not necessarily that, oh, I have to, you know, save all this money or I have to do 1,000 push-ups. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is, can you do 1 push-up a day? Can you get into the school twice a week? You know, can you create those habits that improve you along the way, right? That compound effect.
Yeah, exactly. And that's definitely, as you talk about finances, there's nothing more powerful than compounding, but also the consistency on the habit side of things. Now, as a result of the things that you've done over your life when it comes to both your discipline within Taekwondo as well as your discipline around your finances, you actually were able to move towards one of those dreams you had, and that was to open your own Taekwondo school, right?
Yeah, so I had some very hardworking parents that said, "Hey, Brian, at 16 years old, you're going to go out and you're going to get a job." Okay, so got out, got a job, got into retail, and I was in retail for about 10 years or so, 10, 11 years. And in that 10, 11 years, I discovered I don't want to work retail anymore. But I had some good friendships that got started at 21, got a 401k plan started, and very fortunate from my mom that she's been I'll use the word frugal individual, but between her and my father, I've had some really good habits as far as working hard and then, really keeping what you earn so that way you can get the bigger, better things. I came across, I like to read a lot. So I read a story, a little snippet that said, it's this mother and daughter talking and they're in the store and, daughter wants to buy something. And it's this cheap little, 99-cent toy thing, right, that's going to break in 10 seconds. And mom said, sweetie, we obviously we can afford it. It's only $1, but what it comes down to is we're not so rich that we can afford the cheap stuff. And that really kind of impacted me the other week when I read that and going, the more discipline that we have, the more that we can really make those decisions for making the choice for maybe purchasing or having the good things in life rather than just kind of going by with whatever's on the lowest shelf, right?
Right, exactly. And, that's an excellent point. And it's one of those that it gets back to a lot of times we think we want it now, but when you take a step back and really look at it, is it what you really want or is it what you're willing to settle for? And Definitely. Well, I can have this now, or I can wait a little bit longer. I can use the habits of saving and discipline of working towards what I really want and get not what is good, but what is best.
Yeah, I remember my very first buying experience, right, as a kid was my mom and I had a discussion about me doing chores and earning allowance. And so I had saved up money for, I don't know, it felt like 20 years, but it was probably only a few months, right? Enough money to purchase the very original PlayStation video game system. And so I remember going into the store, sitting there, it's at the counter, have a couple games with it. And my mom looks at me and she goes, "Okay, Brian, are you sure this is what you really want?" And I, of course, as a 7, 8 year old, however old I was at the time, go, "Of course that's what I want. I've waited now for these months and months to save this. Of course that's what I want." But that memory stays with me in that, yeah, I could go buy basketball, or I could go buy this or that,
Mhm.
but then I have to take longer to get the thing that I really want, which is that PlayStation.
Right. Yeah. Excellent. And that's a great example. And so I appreciate that story. Now, one of the other things that I know through your journey of Taekwondo uh, has led you down a path of coming across a number of people's lives who have been impacted in amazing ways when it comes to their overall life. You were sharing with me a story that really hit me as far as a young girl who lost her mother, and I know she had been she had been doing taekwondo for a little while, and so can you share a little bit about that story, and then we'll tie that back to the mindset part of this as well.
Sure. So, I think anything that you get involved in, especially when it comes to a martial art, if you're involved in that school, it kind of becomes like a second family for you, an extended family. The people that you're training with become your brothers and sisters. The instructors oftentimes become your aunts and uncles. And so this young lady who was, I think 8 or 9 years old at the time, really young, had transferred into the school I was teaching at. And so she was there with us for a good 8 months or so, really made some good, heartstring connections between herself, her friends, some of the instructors. And it came up that the week before testing, so we do testing every 8 weeks, but before this big event for her and her little life, her mom passed away. And it was actually such a traumatic experience because she walked in on her mom having a heart attack
Mhm.
and was, there at, 8, 9 years old as a child, going through that. So, it obviously broke a number of hearts at the school, and it was, okay, do we let her test? Do we have her come in? Do we give her that time to heal? What's the best thing we can do for her? And what it came down to was, because now she was living with her grandparents, was, no, she still wants to go to Taekwondo. Well, why is that so important? Because I guarantee you it's not the punching and kicking. What it comes down to is it's that habit that the world is going to continue on. She just lost one of the most important people in her life, and she needs something to grab onto. And it's those habits of going to Taekwondo, about engaging with your friends, about having a new goal in life, something to set yourself for the future. For her, it was that next belt, right? It was that next achievement. Really just allowed her to continue living and not delve into what easily could have been any depression or anything else, right? And not saying that she didn't struggle through that, but it certainly made it easier for her to uh, you know pick up and keep going on in life. She's only 9 years old, 8 years old, so she has plenty of life left to live.
Right. Yeah. And so as you look at that, there are a couple things that struck me. As one, she had built that family. So she had surrounded herself with the right kinds of people that were coming alongside of her and helping her move forward in a positive way.
Mhm.
And so that's what the example of Taekwondo had given her is that. And then she also had goals out in front of her. So she was using those goals to help her continue to live her life. Not that it wasn't one of the hardest things she'll ever experience in life, but she had established some good habits that allowed her to be able to grab onto that and hold on to that and give her that level of security. And I think that as you look at finances, you're going to have those really crazy things happen from the financial side of things as well. And so, the car accident that wipes out, totals your car and causes you to have to go get another one, where you've been building up a emergency fund, then that puts you in a position to where that doesn't totally destroy you, but instead you're able to continue on. You've built the habits. You're able to recover from that far easier than if you never start. You haven't created those habits. You don't have the discipline of saving. You don't have, and I like to call it your financial muscles. You're building your muscles, and that equates easily to Taekwondo as well. And so I think that a lot of what you've shared here has helped us to see the power of just good habits, whether they're physically, emotionally, financially, all of those together, where you build a life around good, solid habits. Then what you're going to see is that the curveballs you get in life are not going to have near the impact that they could have.
Absolutely. And, there's, once again, another book that I came by last week as I was reading, and I'm going to paraphrase this for a moment because it's something that I've talked to and shared with my students about this week. So it was, do not take light discipline. Do not lose heart. Because I think a lot of people end up losing heart when they're disciplined, right? It's a negative connotation for a lot of us. But the last line is, because parents discipline those they love.
Right.
And I think that's the most key that we're talking about here is, do you love yourself enough to create that emergency fund? In the financial world, we used to talk with our clients about, are you building that saving habit, for those bigger things, for that PlayStation? In my example, of course, opening up a Taekwondo school, that requires a little bit of money to get that thing started. So I would not have had that ability had I been following the rest of society and not having those habits of saving and have that ability to go, hey, I have this money sitting here. I could absolutely use it for retirement or for a cruise or for whatever I want. But at the end of the day, it's time to start this business.
Yeah, which is awesome. And I was excited to see you be able to get to the place of opening your school. I know that that's been something you've been working towards a long time. And it was one of those that came through a lot of hard work, getting yourself to the place you are. But you've also been an instructor for a number of years. It wasn't just overnight. You suddenly said, okay, I'm opening a Taekwondo school. It's been something you've been working towards from the discipline of the skills and everything it takes to be a good, solid instructor, as well as the financial aspect that is required to be able to open a business of any sort. And so I think you're a great example for all of the kids out there listening, and even parents, as you're looking at this and you look at your kid's life and say, how do I help guide my child? Well, it all comes down to helping them create those good habits, those good disciplines in life to be able to help them reach towards the goals and dreams they have. And I know you pointed out, you started out in retail, a place that you didn't want to live forever because you really didn't enjoy that part of the world. But you had to do that initially to be able to get to the place where you were set up to be able to do what you really wanted to in life, right?
Yeah, retail, it gave me an opportunity to really flex those hard work ethic muscles my parents always talked about, to work the 40, 50, 60-hour week sometimes. And in the course of doing that, of course, being a young kid, teenager, 20s, because I had the habit from my parents about putting money away, it allowed me to create that, little nest egg of whatever else I want to do, that when I look at my peers, predominantly don't have that. Well, what's the difference? Well, I put the money aside. They didn't. They spent it. I saved it.
Right, exactly. So, well, Brian, I really appreciate your time here today and sharing your journey, but also those things that have brought you to a place of amazing success in your life. And so I know that now there may be someone out there that says, okay, they said something about I could go test this out for $20 for 2 weeks. And so if someone was interested, I know your school is Fair Oaks Taekwondo here it's actually right at the edge of kind of Fair Oaks and Carmichael in California. If someone wanted to find out more or even reach out to you to maybe understand how they could find a good school in their area, you have a website as well as an email address that they could get in contact with you as well, right?
Yeah, so, obviously I'd love to have any and all students, but, if you're living in New York, that's a little bit of a commute to make it twice a week. So So our school here in Fair Oaks, Carmichael, California, we right there on Fair Oaks Boulevard. Our website is Fair Oaks Family TKD, as in Taekwondo, .com. And so at that website, I actually have a portion on there where you can go, well, how do I choose a good Taekwondo school? How do I choose a good martial arts school? And there's a few things that I advise people to look into. Number one, is it going to not just satisfy all the needs you're looking for? Maybe it's the discipline, or maybe it's the self-defense, or maybe it's the physical fitness. But is it really going to go above and beyond that? And there's a number of schools in the area that, they teach you how to punch and kick. But for me, it came down to, is a school going to teach me how to defend myself? And is it going to teach me how to actually live that kind of triumphant life that we've talked about today? Are they going to build me into a better person, right? Someone that can go get that raise at work, someone that can go get that good grade at school, that can have a good financial successful life, of course, too. And so in that, the website kind of talks about it. But what I would say is talk with the instructors. If they'll let you watch a class, awesome. If they won't let you watch a class, I might ask a little bit about why they won't let you watch that class.
Awesome. Well, those are some great tips, even right there. I know for me, what I have really appreciated is that, you do a great job of teaching the punching and kicking, but you've also helped me connect the dots of when I might use those things, and how in the self-defense, I came in it really for myself from a physical fitness and looking to have something that held me accountable. But I appreciate the way that you teach, and the way that you not only teach the methods, but also a connecting point of how and why you would use a certain stance or the punches, whatever it is that they're working on the skills. And so I appreciate that. And Brian, I appreciate your time here today, and appreciate you coming and sharing this with my community. And so for those who are looking for something, we've got your website again, and that was www.fairoaksfamilytkw.com, right?
TKD as in dog.
Oh, TKD.com. Yeah. So yeah, reach out to Brian if you have other questions. And if not, we'll have another expert on here next Tuesday. And so I also know that Brian has a few other areas that you'll probably see him back again, as we delve a little bit into some of the aspects of life insurance and some of the other considerations as you look at your overall financial picture. So thank you all for being here, and we will see you back again next week.